Hello there and welcome back to my channel. The year 2018 is a year I remember for many reasons. A lot of good things happened in 2018 in my life anyway, and some other less good I suppose, but it's a year I remember very fondly in my head. Not really when it comes down to the mainstream music scene, however. There are a lot of songs that I will be talking about today that charted very highly on the Billboard charts that I think quite positively about, and some others that I don't. And today I will be sharing with all of you which ones I did enjoy quite a bit and which ones I didn't really. These are the highest charting songs on the Billboard year-end charts, the top 20, and there's a little bit of everything in today's video, and I will be really looking forward to just discussing all of these songs and sharing my 2 cents on all of them. Some huge hits in Sweden as well, and some songs that I think maybe were more popular within the American audience, but I'll mention that as we go along throughout the video. But I hope you'll enjoy listening to me ramble on about these songs as I begin with "No Tears Left to Cry" by Ariana Grande, which was a huge hit back in 2018. I remember it so fondly. I think this song really, it's very much, when I look back at 2018, this is one of the first songs that I really think of, or at least during this time. I think this was a standout in Ariana Grande's catalog for sure. She really developed her sound and made something much more innovative and complex, I suppose you'd say as well. This song really stands out in her discography for good reason. I think the production on it is stellar, really. It has just this punchy sound throughout the song. It's very characteristic and doesn't really hold back in any regard. There's a bunch of mainly I would say the pulsating bass of the song and just very distinguished chords on the keys here. They help kind of create this really unique sound stage with a stunning sound design really that creates it, I suppose you say, or establishes it. It's characteristically layered as well, which I think is really neat in this song. The vocals are dynamic. They're showcasing both soaring highs from Ariana Grande, which I think she nails completely in this, and some fun high energy sections where it's more, scaled back in terms of her actual vocal delivery in terms of its brightness and such. It's fast paced. It's a song that feels very varied and dynamic throughout. There's some intricate vocal harmonies scattered throughout the song. And it's just really a very well-crafted pop song that I have a lot of fun listening to. The more I think about it and the more I talk about it, I'm convinced that I will be placing this in the A tier, because I do think it's just... it just stands out so much among other pop music from not only its time, but from the entirety really of the scene, because I think there are a lot of fun and playful ideas that has been really put into making this song and making it stand out so much in terms of its soundscape and actual approach. So I think this is a great start to kick off the list with absolutely the strongest single from this album by Ariana Grande. I remember not really liking the other ones, but this is absolutely the standout in my opinion, and I'm glad that it's on the list for this year. As I move on to the second song, the second year in succession that I'm talking about, Khalid here, and this is his duet with Normani, and it's called Love Lies. And this is really, it's a very sweet and almost kind of like a wonderful duet that uses these two very contrasting voices to its advantage, I would think. It's a very pleasant listen in that regard. There's solid production on this song, a smooth flow. I think the hook is enjoyable, albeit I guess its simplicity really kind of strikes me. The song is rather formulaic altogether, and I kind of I don't think I have an issue with it, but the thing is that it kind of lands a bit middle of the road for me, because it's not as relaxed and vibey as Location that I talked about yesterday, but it's hardly energetic enough for me to consider this to be a standout song really. It's simply just a decent effort. It's definitely the higher area of the C tier, but I think that placing it in the B tier would be a stretch for me personally, as I don't find it to be that interesting or engaging. It's just kind of there, a little bit middle of the road, but has some standout qualities to it, like the duet concept that it has, and some pretty decent production and a nice flow to it. So a strong C for Love Lies there. As I move on to Camila Cabello's Never Be the Same, which is a song in which Camila Cabello here is doing her utmost to sound as inhuman as possible. Like it's kind of crazy, really, when you listen to the song, just the way that she actually approaches this. Her vocal delivery in the bridges, in particular in this song, are simply eardrum shattering. It's like this blend of something very, very high pitched, like something so highly pitched, and like an overdose of breath being put on each note. And it's very distracting and really obnoxious to my ears. The choruses also feature like hints of this, but the instrumental during those choruses really drowns it out a little bit, so it kind of holds it back in there. Melodically, it is somewhat catchy, but the vocal performance kills any chance of this being a pleasant listen for me. I think it's like an awful listen, truly, and it mostly comes down to, I'm sorry, Miss Cabello, but you're kind of the big reason for it, because it seems so overdone in the vocal department that I'm placing this one in the F tier. I don't find the song particularly interesting either on its own merit, but it's simply unlistenable for me. I find it very, very not hurt. Like I don't think it hurts to listen to it, but it's almost there. It's just a very off-putting listen, and I automatically turn it off instantly when those bridges kick in. So not a good one, that one for me, unfortunately. As I move on to Sad! Exclamation mark by XXXTENTACION. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but I'm going with that. And this is like, obviously there's clearly a huge audience for this kind of music. If you go onto the Spotify page of XXXTENTACION, the songs have so many plays, and I've never really like listened to them. I will admit that they weren't really that big in the mainstream in Sweden. Maybe they, maybe they were on everyone's Spotify list, but I never really heard them on the radio or anything. I think like this song has a few qualities to it that I really do enjoy. I think that I really like that it highlights or tries to highlight an emotional vulnerability in this song. And I like how the vocal is kind of dynamically shifting between a bit of whispering and then the more expressive bursts of a melodic hook, really. It doesn't really have a consistent flow, however, this song. I think that it makes it a little less enjoyable for me. It kind of breaks up a little bit in the middle and doesn't really rely on the actual groove of the track to its fullest, because it wants to be a bit out there, I suppose, and break up the tempo of the track a little bit here and there. It doesn't really contain a lot of energy either, and when you don't, like when the sections that are, the more upbeat parts or where the beat is really consistent, the energy isn't really all the way there, and then when you kill the mood of the song as well in the middle of that, it drains it out a little bit more. There is a nice groove in the beat, absolutely, and some neat cut-off work in the lead melody in the background, I would say, that I've always kind of enjoyed. And vocally it kind of sticks because of that expressive dynamic quality to it, I suppose. But I'm placing this one in the C tier as well. I don't think it's particularly interesting, and I think it's a little bit on the flat side. It just kind of trundles along, but absolutely a solid listen and a solid effort. So C tier for Sad. As I move on to New Rules by Dua Lipa, and I really remember like when this one hit, because Dua Lipa, obviously, if I had to guess, she made the Scared to Be Lonely song with Martin Garrix before this. However, this was like the big breakthrough for Dua Lipa, at least in my memory, and you couldn't find a more impactful track to get everyone's attention over a solo career, for it to just blow up. This is packed with attitude, some fun wordplay, a vocal performance that really suits the track nicely, and the structure of this is also very effective. I like how it builds towards these choruses. The instrumental may be somewhat minimalistic, and the song may rely on repetition quite a lot, but like the forceful drive of these choruses and the energetic percussion, standout qualities really that highlights all of the enjoyment that I have for this song. The way also these, like the vocal bridges are kind of building. I mean, it also goes hand in hand with that instrumental behind it as well, because the synth work is ascending with the vocal. Really just makes for a brilliant crescendo leading into these rewarding hooks, and each hook is just as rewarding as the one prior to it. It feels like such an engaging, energetic, fun pop song that I truly love. I'm placing this in the A tier. I think it's a brilliant tune, really. Perfect pop package for its time as well, and really kickstarted off a great career for Dua Lipa. could like I think Dua Lipa will appear in more of these lists, so maybe this will be considered a bit of a spoiler, but I do still think that probably this is my favorite song that I've heard from her still. It just had that much of an impact when it came out, and tons of fun to listen to, really. Something that I find less enjoyable to listen to is absolutely Boot Up by Ella May. I don't know. This is an incredibly one-dimensional listen, which I think is my main issue with it. In the verses, there are like hints of some creative approaches, I would say, in the piano chords, and there's like a swooping kind of synth work in there, which is nice. But it all results in kind of in nothing really when the choruses come in. A nonsensical hook with the badabadoom, boot up, badabadoom, boot up. And a lot of pausing. The phrasing is kind of flat and boring in my opinion. The vocals sound lazy and there's a lack of variation or a lack of flair even. The song very much relies on this smooth and vibey feel that it tries to create, and I get that, but ultimately it has a pretty irritating hook that both sounds a bit tired and keeps repeating without any energy really. It's a very repetitive listen, and I don't find the vocals to be expressive at all. For being an R&B song, I find this to be one of the most lifeless ones that I've come across. I'm placing this one in the E tier. It's a very weak E in my opinion, and I'm not really like sure why this became such a hit. Like I don't know. Is Ella May famous outside of this song? Maybe she is, but I don't know. Not for me, that one. However, Finesse by Bruno Mars and Cardi B. It's called remix as well. I haven't heard the original, if that's a thing. But Bruno Mars, you know by now that I just love the stuff that he puts out. Infectious energy in this song, a great instrumental flair throughout. It's so playful. The vocals, like vocally, it flows so smoothly on top. Bruno Mars is very characteristic and charismatic in this performance. Really uses the effectiveness of the beat to his full potential as well. It utilizes the rhythmic potency perfectly as well with playful syncopated synth stabs and hits. I think that Cardi B actually adds quite an engaging drive to the whole song as well. I think her feature is well warranted in here, and she contributes with something to it as well, even though she's not my kind of like rapper. It's just a complete package. It's another A tier song. It's probably top of A tier, to be completely honest. I don't think it's an S tier because I don't return to it as much. Like the S tier I kind of just reserve for the songs that I'm obsessed listening to. Then like you need to have the perfect song, and I also need to return to it all the time. Those are the songs that I place in the S tier, which might be a bit of like a steep hill to really reach there. Finesse is a song that's tons of fun. I just don't listen to it as much as I do with the other songs that I've actually placed at the top. So that's that. Next up, it's Post Malone, one of the 3 songs that I will be talking about when it comes to him in this video. He had a very big 2018. This is Better Now, which is absolutely one of the more pop influenced songs, at least from this album, what's it called, Beer Bongs and Bentleys or something like that. And it's catchy. It has a great hook, really, like a very catchy hook. It feels like it really feels like an accessible pop song on top of a trap beat, I guess. And I think that it has a lot of redeeming qualities. I think Post Malone voices a lot of the notes with some kind of grit that makes it characteristic, while it's simply for the most part just accessible and effective. So it's quite nice to have that little bit of contrast in there. Instrumentally, maybe I would have wished for this song to develop more and maybe use a more complete instrumentation. I think that it's a bit scaled back and minimalistic in that area. A wider and more grown instrumentation could basically like hammer down the emotion of the track a bit more. Still think it's a strong B. Great hook, great flow of the song as well. Vocally neat, sing-along friendly, absolutely. And quite anthemic in a way, really. Like I would have liked to been in the audience for a live show when Post Malone puts on Better Now or performs Better Now. I think that could be quite cool. But alas, I'm yet to hear that or see that. Maybe one day. Juice WRLD's Lucid Dreams is up next, and of course, like using the Shape of My Heart sample by Sting is kind of like a cheat code because the song will be beautiful no matter what you do with it almost. I think though, however, like this song has a brilliant use of it. It truly does. The song is built around that sample and really pays its respect to the beauty of it by pairing it with a really nice, contrasting, pretty melody that's really being like kind of overflowing with emotion from Juice WRLD's vocal performance in this song. It's obviously more of these rap songs with a lot of vocal processing, and it's a bit over the top and excessive. But for being a song within that genre, I think this one just nails it. The production of the track really highlights like the beauty of the sample, of course, while also providing a lot of depth in the beat, I think. But really, like this, the standout part would probably be the honesty that I feel from Juice WRLD's vocals here. It balances out his kind of deficiency in a skillful singing, if you will, by really just pouring out so much emotion. Melodically stunning, it's very poignant and palpable in terms of its emotion, and yeah, it's an A-tier song. I'm placing it between New Rules and No Tears Left to Cry. I think it's brilliant. Well done to Juice WRLD for that one. Yeah. Next up is Nice for What by Drake. And Drake, of course, had an even bigger 2018, I suppose, than Post Malone did, because he also has 3 songs in today's video from the Scorpion album. And Drake has never really been an artist that I completely understand his greatness or whatever you call it. I think there's really nothing catchy about this song in particular. There are vocals layered on vocals, which are kind of distracting. There's a bunch of random interruptions throughout the song that take away from the flow of it all. Might be a good thing though, what do I know, because it's repetitive enough as it is, and so maybe they realized that and they wanted to break up the whole flow of it. I don't find this one to be particularly fun to listen to though. It's just kind of there. It's a Drake song among others that it's very disposable for me. I don't find this one to be particularly memorable. I'm placing this one in the E category. Sorry. But, however, Drake, you can be happy about the fact that you will be placed above the next song up, because it's time for the Maroon 5 song of all Maroon 5 songs that belongs in the deepest pit of hell, and it's called Girls Like You. It's with Cardi B. How huge of a like, what do you call it? Like the contrast between Cardi B featuring on Finesse and on Girls Like You, it's quite mad, really. There is some tough competition in Maroon 5's discography of being the most annoying song, but this one takes the cake. I can't see anything else. This is instrumentally so flat and uninteresting. I don't think they're even a band anymore at this point, because there's nothing going on in this instrumental. It's so lifeless. Melodically, the hook is dire. Adam Levine's vocal delivery of it does not help. It's an incredibly repetitive and soulless song that just really repeats the same line throughout the chorus as well. It's phrased as well in a really obnoxious way that I really despise. Like the melody is just... It's simply irritating, I suppose. I don't really have any better words for it than the way he presents it as well, or performs it. It just gives me... like, it makes my skin crawl, and these repeated yeah. It's like such an uninteresting song, and I do not understand why this is a hit. Is it just because it has Maroon 5's name on it? Surely they have other songs you could put on the charts, but this is the worst of the worst. It has to be when it comes to their discography. I despise this. I never want to hear it again. Whenever I hear the first second of it, I just instantly no way. Sorry about that, Maroon 5. You've had your highs, but they're quite long gone by now, really. We'll see if you can get back there someday. Next up, song number 9 on the year-end charts was In My Feelings by Drake, also known as Kiki, Do You Love Me? Which is, you know, a pretty solid opening line. It sticks in there instantly. It's fun, it's upbeat and quite dance-friendly, I think, and the beat is very easy on the ear. And it has a neat groove and a little bit of few catchy melodies scattered around the song. Again, though, Drake comes around with these songs that kind of don't really feel as cohesive. He wants to break up the song a little bit towards the end. There are, again, vocals layered on top of vocals that just collide with each other, which creates a really distracting soundstage. It sounds incredibly messy at times. It's a promising start that quickly goes downhill. I'm still placing it in the D tier because I do think that it has a lot of redeeming qualities that are quite fun, but I can't sit through the whole thing when it gets too much towards the end. So D tier feels just right for for In My Feelings. As I move on to, I was about to say Stay by Zedd. No, this is The Middle by Zedd, Grey, and Maren Morris. And it kind of feels a little bit of like a follow-up to Stay, if I'm completely honest. It has that same very distinguished synth-layered hook that's has a lot of attack on it, very quick release, and just wants to create like these kind of iconic stabs and hits melodically. So it kind of feels like it's in the same vein there. Zedd really found like a style to keep going for, and it was successful, of course. This is a bouncy crowd pleaser, I would say. The hook is very memorable, and it's both vocally really expressive and backed up well with these synth stabs, really. I find it quite playful. The detailing is on point. I think the production quality, again, of course, is stunning on this track, really. It has that punchy, assertive tone to it, while also kind of creating a relaxing vibe around it as well. It feels very convincing in that regard. However, the main standout I have to say about this song is probably Maren Morris and the vocal performance, which I think she knocks it out of the park with. It's very varied. It goes more and more expressive the further into the song you go. She harmonizes a lot with herself. And there are a lot of vocal lines that just stick immediately in my head from this song. And I feel like the actual development of the track as well is absolutely there. Perhaps, though, the song really isn't, like, as a stylistic kind of package, it's not really for me. I like jolly songs at times, but I do like them to have a bit more energy and tempo. This is a very restrained and kind of a slow song for trying to be uplifting and bouncy in that way. And I never really managed to connect with something being, fun and jolly and I guess joyous while being a bit on the slow side. I think that kind of like that contradicts itself, and I never really click with that. I'm placing this one in the B tier. I still think it's a very well executed song, and it's a bit of fun to listen to and very expressive, but I would have liked for it to be a bit more energetic, absolutely. Few songs to go. I would count 7 if my math is not horrendous here, and it's more Cardi B. She also had a fantastic 2018, it really seems like. And this is I Like It with Bad Bunny and J Balvin, and it's kind of nice that I think the song has like a rap approach that's varied throughout, and it's continuously very present, which clicks for me. I do think that's quite a fun little approach that the song has. The beat is, of course, a classic of it, which really gives the song a bunch of charm from the start. So it's kind of a little bit in the same vein as the Lucid Dreams there, with the fact that the sample is kind of helping the song out quite a lot. However, this one isn't really up my alley, however, which kind of is an issue. Ultimately, it's the furthest thing away from what I enjoy listening to, like stylistic-wise or style-wise. I don't enjoy this style of rapping altogether and find it dynamically quite uninteresting. However, I kind of like hearing some rapping in Spanish, I suppose, because that means I don't understand the lyrics, and they fit this kind of flavorful beat quite nicely. So there are a few strong parts about it. I just find like maybe the energy not to be really there throughout this song. It feels a bit dire to be kind of this kind of rap song, I suppose. The beat is working at times. I think maybe the 808 usage is a bit excessive, and I think maybe like my main issue is probably that the rap is a bit on the slow side as well. It tries to be very packed with like personality and attitude, but it never really tries to impress in terms of its actual wordplay or tempo in that sense. I'm placing this at the top of E tier. I don't particularly enjoy it, I have to be honest, so that's why it's going down there. But if you want to imagine the fact that it's in the D tier instead, that's fine, but I just don't think it's that much. I just don't find it that great. Sorry. Next up is Psycho, more Post Malone, and this is with T.Y. Dolla Sign. And yeah, this might be a me issue, but I have no idea what Post Malone is singing about in this song. Like the vocal performance of this track is so distracting. I can't make out any. I can make out probably 10 words throughout the whole thing here. Most of them are psycho. There are, of course, like redeeming qualities in this. I think there's a sweet and mellow beat with some kind of subtle warmth from this synth key lead in the background, which is quite nice. But the hook really feels quite lazy. It's just using extended woes instead of really writing a melody, which I find very underwhelming. It's uneventful in development as well. The song just kind of trundles along, never really goes anywhere. I'm placing this one in the E tier as well. I'm placing it below I Like It, but above Nice for What. I find that to be a very disappointing release from Post Malone, considering he also released Rockstar with 21 Savage this year, which I think is a much more expressive tune. It's a very engaging one. It has an atmospheric quality, which I find to be very palpable. The somber beat that the song consists of is really captivating, in my opinion. Malone has tons of presence in the mix here. His vocals can't be really ignored, even though it's a bit on the mumbly side and not really, what do you say, like emotionally gripping or anything. It's very toned down and restrained, but the clarity in the mix that the vocals are allowed to have makes it really stand out, I think. I really like the vocal lines in this song, and I think that he sounds great on top of a beat like this one. It's a nice blend of a lot of kind of tense ideas, really. Like their song has a lot of tension and an atmospheric quality to it. Lyrically, I really couldn't care less about it, and Post Malone's lifestyle that he's talking about in the hills and popping pillies and feeling like a rock star. I don't care, but it's just the beat and the vibe of the track that I click with. If I tune out the words I question, it's just a really nice listen. I'm placing this one in the B tier as well. Yeah, just right next to Better Now, I think. The beat of this one is really nice as well. Like it just has such an ambient quality to it that I think is very tangible. So that's a nice one. 4 songs to go. The first one is Havana by Camila Cabello again, and this one is featuring Young Thug. And this is what I want Camila Cabello to make, really. One of the more addictive pop songs from this era, I would say. This is a song that I've listened to so many times I can't even count, because it's just irresistible in its catchiness, I suppose. Addictive piano arrangement in the song, which is of course a bit tropical and exotic for me anyway. I think that's a perfect fit for this 808 heavy beat as well that has a really distinct percussion throughout. There's a very catchy hook that I think really fits Camila Cabello's very nasally voice that's obviously over the top in Never Be the Same. But here she's staying quite low in her register, which makes that kind of nasally approach work, in my opinion. The horns throughout the song are a nice detail. They're both kind of flirty and exciting inputs that just enhance the overall impression that I have of the song massively, I would say. Incredibly fun to listen to, keeps itself consistently fresh, and like between segments, due to, I guess, both detailing and the vocal lines kind of altering throughout, various elements just being implemented as well. It's and the horns, I mean, they obviously add so much of a layer to it and really creating the whole world building of the song. It's inevitable that I will either snap my fingers or tap my foot along to the beat of the song. I think it's tons of fun to listen to, placing it at the very, very top of the A tier here. I think it's a very fun pop song. Perhaps not the most substantial or thoroughly well planned out pop tune. It's just a fun little catchy, memorable song that goes all in for what it wants to be. So kudos to that. I'm placing it at the top of A tier. As I move on to Meant to Be by Bebe Rexha and Florida Georgia Line, which I find to be a very annoying song with an incredibly repetitive chorus. Again, it's just repeating the same words over and over again. The melody doesn't really have any flair to it. I think that Florida Georgia Line, of course, goes all in on this kind of charm that I think maybe they consider themselves to have, of the most southern accent imaginable. And maybe it's, it could absolutely be natural and whatnot, but it's just not very pleasant for me to listen to in this one. And they're using all of that charm, or, well, I mean, the charm, I guess, on one of the more lackluster and repetitive hooks of the year, of the decade, maybe even. This flat digital beat that the song has as well, it's like laughably lifeless, really. It doesn't contribute anything to the song. It feels very placeholderish and plastic and soulless. It feels like they're kind of trying to push like a submarine down into a shoebox. It feels so out of place, mixing this whole country arrangement with that kind of beat. There's an obligatory, like this song really is the obligatory digitally arranged pop and country ballad crossover of the year. And I don't think that Billboard could have picked a worse one to make it chart. It's whiny, it's repetitive, it's sappy, it's an F tier song, placing it actually above the other two because they have more infuriating elements. This one's just, it's just there, and I gotta be honest, I haven't heard this song as many times as probably the other two, and maybe that's why I prefer it. I don't know. I don't want to pick a favorite of these three. I dislike them all. So sorry. Next up is Perfect by Ed Sheeran. Speaking of, I guess, a little bit sappy. I don't know, but it's this song is kind of sweet. I guess I have a soft spot for Ed Sheeran. I understand why some people would be completely like turned off with this one. It's a bit over the top in its cheesiness and cutesy wootsy approach. It's a very simple and predictable song, it really is, but I guess like I just kind of enjoy it. The instrumentation is what to expect. Sparkly guitar, kind of soft staccato piano notes, restrained drumming, warm strings. It's all there. You know exactly what you're going to get from it, but it's ultimately very sweet, and I think Ed Sheeran has a little bit of like an honest approach to his performance here. The vocal arrangement really flows naturally throughout the song, and it's just delivered convincingly, I would say. I'm placing this one in the C tier, just kind of in the middle here. I don't find it to be a standout in his discography, but I don't really mind it either. And ultimately, we go on to the number one song on the Billboard year-end charts of 2018, which is another Drake song. And this is, where I feel like I'm very out of touch with the American audience because I was not very familiar with this Drake album as a whole. The one song that I was really familiar with from it is, of course, was In My Feelings. I don't know why I say of course, because God's Plan seems to be the big one from his album here. But In My Feelings was the one that I had heard the most, and it's mainly due to the Kiki Do You Love Me thing. God's Plan is a rap song that I don't really think has that many standout qualities. It's just there as... I kind of group it together with a lot of other songs by Drake. I don't think it has that many qualities to it that makes it special, really. It's uninteresting for me and not thoroughly developed. I think the 808s in the track, there's like big 808s just for the sake of there being big 808s. I don't think they add a lot to the song. They have their presence in here, but that's about it. I understand, like maybe like the song kind of feels so lackluster because maybe it doesn't really have an attitude or energy in that regard. And I understand why he doesn't want to come across as assertive or passionate in this song, because it's mainly like a song about humility and reflection. But I just don't feel any emotion from this vocal that he transmits. And then I'm left very cold listening to it. It's a 3-minute long song, and I think that ultimately, because of its very restrained and exciting approach, it really feels like 5, and I don't find this one to be particularly fun to listen to either. I'm placing this one above Psycho but below I Like It, because I don't find it to be very exciting, really, and that's the end of the tier list. A lot of songs that I was a bit harsh on, maybe. I just don't really get this kind of I guess mainly it's like the E tier. There are a lot of songs that I predictably wouldn't enjoy when I just think of my own personal music preference. But just looking at it, I'm like, yeah, these are the songs that I completely tune out of. I don't really particularly enjoy any of them, for varied reasons, I suppose. But mainly like the Drake songs are just not my thing, and that's the way it is. Still, I placed 5 songs in the A tier, and I think those are all some wonderful pop songs. 4 of them I would say are just incredibly engaging and tons of fun to listen to, while Lucid Dreams is the emotional kind of one that hits a bit harder. But a few standouts in this year, absolutely. I think it's a year that has a lot of quality to it, but also some of the songs, or well, a lot of the songs really don't really sit right with me personally. However, it might be completely different for you. Please let me know what you think of the songs in this year's tier list as well. It's been fun to revisit this year as well. Next up is 2019, and I will recognize even less songs than I did from this one. But that's part of the fun for me as well, to really just delve into what songs made it big in 2019 over in America, because in Sweden, same songs weren't really big in many cases. I think when you look at this list, the ones that I consider to be huge in Sweden are Havana, No Tears Left to Cry, probably New Rules as well, actually, Perfect, and Girls Like You. Like, those are the five that I really remember hearing quite often on the radio. The others, not really, if I'm completely honest. So that's kind of crazy, isn't it? Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Please, hopefully I will see you again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves until then, and bye for now.